I'll wait for you to decide what's the right thing to do. Take as much time as you need.
Yeah. There is without you need both the narrator and the player, and otherwise there's no story.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Yeah, there's
No matter
yeah.
how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
It's also a possibility that the phone is gonna ring.
Where are we going today? The bucket asked. Stanley just smiled. Anywhere they went together would be...
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him.
I'm wondering what will happen when I unplug the phone with the bucket.
Into this dark room over here.
Stanley once again obeyed blindly.
Yeah, it's... What happens when I unplug the phone?
Now pick up the phone.
Whoa, hold on. Why did you unplug the phone? Were you trying to resist the bucket's orders? Stanley, I was joking. Obviously, the bucket isn't talking to you and telling you to do things. Buckets can't talk. It was a joke. Don't you get the joke? It's funny, Stanley. A talking bucket. Can't you see? Oh, goodness. I must have really bungled up the delivery if you actually took me seriously. Where did I get such a joke? Should I have paused for longer or spoken quicker? Comedic timing is so difficult. I wish I were better at it. But there isn't exactly an instructional video on comedy that one can watch to fully... Oh, wait, yes, there is. It's sitting right here. Let's take a look.
Where? Oh,
What
there it
is
is.
comedic timing? What is comedic timing? How does it work? How long should it last? How can it be used to effectively silence your political enemies? And more importantly, can it be taught in its entirety within 90 seconds? Thankfully, the answer to all of these questions is yes. Let's
Nice.
dive deeper. If you've ever told a joke or made someone laugh, in all likelihood, you did it while standing 50 to 80 centimeters from them in a room of no more than 76 degrees Fahrenheit, with one of your arms raised straight upward at a 15-degree angle from your body. These are the optimal conditions for good comedic timing.
Okay.
To begin the joke, start by stating and spelling your name. Next, provide a brief synopsis of the joke, including the specific times at which the recipient of the joke will laugh, and then spell out your name a second time. With these steps complete, it's time to begin the humor. Speak the entire joke in no more than 18 seconds and no less than 13 and a half, pausing only for bathroom breaks when necessary. When the joke has concluded, it is customary to inform your listener that the joke is over by declaring in your loudest possible voice, "I'm Dunny with the funny." Let's practice screaming, "I'm Dunny with the funny" now.
I'm Dunny with the funny.
Good. This saying is a perfect example of expectations management, which is the cornerstone of good comedy. Finally, it's time to hand out surveys. Collecting hard data from your audience on how rapt they were throughout the joke is the only way to grow or learn as a comedian. An effective survey should be no less than 10 pages long and should include the same question reprinted several times, just to ensure the survey taker is actually paying attention and not simply filling in answers at random. And that's all there is. With these strategies at your disposal, you'll have audiences doubled over in laughter and even tripled over in laughter in no time at all. Just remember to let them stop laughing at some point, you gut-busting little scamp. After all, we're each of us needed on the front lines of the war to fight the 12-legged invader who threaten our very existence, and who very likely die in a hailstorm of bullets and mandibles. All of us must be prepared to give our lives to this noble cause, just as our children must do after us, and their children after them. Godspeed, and may Earth reign supreme.
What? Where did that come from?
Hey, goodness, this video is a little outdated, isn't it? Well, no matter. I
sure.
think the fundamentals of proper comedic timing are still as relevant today as they were back then. So with that in mind, I believe the only way forward is for us to return to the 2 doors and walk through all of this again, so I can try telling my story with more appropriate comedic delivery.
Okay.
Come along, let's head back.
At least there was no narrative contradiction this time, so I guess that's a positive note to take from this. Once again, I'm not allowed to jump to my death.
I can feel it. This time, I'm really going to nail the delivery. You'll be in stitches.
Okay.
A talking bucket, you'll say? How ridiculous. How absurd. What a hilarious concept. The king of comedy. That's what you'll call me. Thank goodness we had the instructional video.
Yeah.
Otherwise, who knows where we'd be right now? Well, I wouldn't
Nowhere.
be the king of comedy, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
The bucket spoke to Stanley.
The bucket spoke.
The bucket spoke. Oh, I'll figure it out on the fly. No need to overthink things.
Alright, so let me hear your comedic timing, narrator. I'm ready to be in stitches.
Here we go. You ready? When Stanley and the bucket came to a set of 2 open doors, they entered the door on the left.
Yeah. Okay, what am I supposed to do now? Am I supposed to go to the right again so that you can talk about the bucket? Oh wow, it's dark in here.
What?
Oh.
We're back at the phone already? No, what's going on? There were supposed to be several rooms leading up to this. There was supposed to be a build-up to this point, a dramatic display of remarkable comedic wit which culminates in this scene with the phone. But now the timing's completely off. The joke will never land, or not the way it was meant to. And it's all my fault. I must have forgotten that the phone room comes immediately after the 2 doors room. What an egregious mistake. I've made a fool of myself. I don't deserve the title of king of comedy. I'm nothing. I'm not even the lowliest joke-telling whelp. I think I need to go back and watch that instructional video again. Yes, surely that will help me improve my...
Are we watching it again, or?
Here we go.
Oh,
you
no.
ready? When Stanley and the bucket came to a set of 2 open doors, they entered the door on the left.
Alright.
No. You were supposed to go through the door on the right, leading back to the phone. Did you not even look at the instructional video? I think this is all covered very clearly. There's no way I can make the comedic timing work now. It's done. The joke is completely done and over. It's all your fault, Stanley. I'm going to be ridiculed in the community of other joke writers. I'm going to be shamed at every one of our meetings from now on. All because you couldn't watch a simple video and take a hint. Are you proud of yourself for bringing me down, Stanley? Are you proud?
Oh.
Stanley, you love the bucket so much it's like you... it's as though all of your other most prized possessions pale in comparison. Yes. Well, let me try that again, Stanley. I heard that you are pale with shame over how unabashedly in love with a bucket you are. No? Still not? It is a delivery. Pale with shame.
Would have been better if the guy down there actually had a bucket, but okay.
What's another word to describe a bucket? Stanley, this bucket is so metal, I think I saw it playing guitar. No.
I think it was pretty funny.
Making fun of Stanley's obsession with the bucket, which was the whole point of this. I'm no good at these jokes. I need more instructional videos. That's exactly what it is. That's what will make me the king of comedy. More instructional.
More instructional videos. Alright.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a good bucket, a strong bucket, a humble bucket, a committed bucket, a bucket of culture and distinction. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest.
Where are we going?
Entered the door on his left.
Let's do the insanity ending with the bucket.
He walked upstairs to the boss's office. But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then, something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. He looked down at the bucket in his eyes. Am I crazy? He asked the bucket. The bucket returned his gaze, but said nothing at all. That's strange, Stanley thought. Usually the bucket is a source of guidance and wisdom for me in difficult times such as these. He held the bucket close, yet felt none of its familiar reassurance and comfort. And that's when Stanley realized, this isn't my bucket. It's just a normal, everyday bucket.
Oh,
Someone
no.
else's bucket, perhaps. How did I end up with someone else's bucket? This is all terribly wrong. Surely no good would come from this. Who knows what sorts of bizarre hallucinations Stanley might experience without the psychologically grounding presence of his bucket.
Give me my bucket back!
The rules were repeating, which was, of course, very odd. And now he felt himself floating off the ground.
Oh, there we go.
He exclaimed. Without my bucket, I've gone truly mad. Where is it? I must find it.
No!
Far off in the distance now, he heard it, calling to him.
Stanley! Stanley, it's me, the bucket.
Oh! Buckets! Buckets!
Forward from room to room, passing by one bucket after the next. None of them were his.
No.
None of them were his
No, no,
special bucket.
no stickers on them!
Me, Stanley, find me.
I'm trying,
He
bucket!
had to find the bucket. He had to return to his old friend. It was the only way to truly restore his sanity.
Whoa! The bucket gods.
He knew where the voice of the bucket had been coming from.
Yeah?
The real bucket was inside of him all along. It was incredibly painful.
Oh.
Stanley doubled over in agony and blacked out.
Alright, Mariella?
This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
What are you going to find on the street? Is there going to be a bucket?
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, picked up her bucket of comfort, and walked to her place.
She's holding a bucket as well.
Was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town, talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. Right away, she knew what the problem was. This man had of course he'd gone mad, ranting and raving about a narrator describing all of his actions, and how everything is predetermined, and free will is an illusion, and it's all just a video game. It could all have been prevented if only he'd taken his bucket with him. Perhaps he didn't even realize he'd forgotten his bucket at home in the first place. How cruel the world can be, Mariella thought, and she hugged her own bucket even tighter. But of course, she had no time for this. There were a myriad of confusing problems she would soon have to confront at work, for which her bucket would provide absolute guidance and total clarity on everything. Heck yes, she thought to herself.
Heck
My
yes.
life kicks ass. She backflipped all the way.
She backflipped all the way to work. That has to be one of the best sentences I've ever read. Heck yeah, my life kicks ass, and she backflipped all the way to work. That is one hell of a sentence.
To him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
Now, also there has to be another ending down there where you don't go there with the bucket, because when I go there with the bucket, of course you get to that ending where the guy talks on the cassette tapes about how this bucket is awesome. But if you go there without the bucket, maybe that'll give you a different ending as well.
In here.
Said the bucket.
Go into this dark room over here.
Stanley once again obeyed blindly.
Alright, so well, pick up the phone.
Now pick up the phone.
Said the bucket.
Pick up the phone, and it will take us back home, where we can go about life together.
This is the sad story of a man named Stanley and his bucket. Once upon a time, I gave Stanley a bucket because I thought he was lonely and could use a friend. And then, very distressingly, he began to believe the bucket could speak to him.
Hello Stanley, it's me, your bucket. Press G to take me to work with you.
The Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket was merely meant to provide the comforting glow of companionship. It doesn't literally talk and give you orders. Whatever Stanley is hearing the bucket say to him is just in his head.
Press B to take me back home with you.
Lately, I've been concerned about him. Wouldn't you be concerned as well? To see him delusional like this, obsessing over an inanimate metal object? I want to say something to him, but I don't know how I can convince him. I don't know if he'll listen to me.
It's hard to go back to work.
Oh, I'll try anyway. Stanley, can you hear me? Listen to me. It's just a bucket. It can't think, it can't talk. All it will ever truly do for you is effectively transfer a liquid from one location to a different location. That's it. It doesn't do anything else.
Well, you can capture things with it. Don't listen to the loud man. Press L for us to go back home.
You see, he's not listening. He's still taking orders from the bucket.
Well, I don't really have a
You know,
choice.
Once upon a time, it was me he took orders from. Me he trusted and listened to. Now all he cares about is his awful bucket. This stupid hunk of metal.
Press L to ignore anyone in your life except for me. Oh, this is
I
getting
suppose he doesn't
creepy.
need me anymore. From now on, he's just going to cling to this bucket, this cold, empty bucket, this sort of shiny bucket. Well, I'll give it this. The bucket does have a nice shine to it.
You believe I'm real, don't you, Stanley? Press J to go back home.
Yes, I suppose on closer inspection.
Oh, he's falling. Yes.
Your average hardware store bucket. It's just a little more, what am I trying to say? Sturdier, more capable of transporting liquid. Like it would be better at moving an amount of water from one room to another.
Press Z to relive the same day with me over and over. This has got some fucking Doki Doki Literature Club Monica stuff to it. But yeah, be entranced by the buckets, narrator.
Oh
Whoa.
my God, what am I saying? Better at carrying water from room to room. It's a bucket. It's literally just a bucket. Why do I feel some need to point out the ways in which it's so much more than just a regular bucket?
Okay, this chair is not solid. Press K to go home, to work, to home, to work, to home.
Oh no, I'm having feelings. The bucket.
Yes.
Oh, no. What's going on? Why do I want to be with the bucket? Hear what the bucket has to say. Anything it asks. What's wrong with me? I don't understand. Perhaps if I had the bucket, this would be less confusing. Yes. The bucket could tell me what to do in this troublesome situation. Stanley, give me the bucket.
Never!
Give it to me. Give me the bucket.
Never!
Stanley. I need it. Give it to me now. Give it
Close your eyes. Go back to work, Stanley. Okay. Oh, is this...
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Hey,
Stanley
buckets.
decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors,
Oh.
he entered the door on his
I
left.
didn't want to... Alright, well, we can do the broom closet ending. Now that I don't have the bucket.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
And there's no bucket here.
There was nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow, just an empty broom closet. No reason to still be here.
I don't know. We've had a rocky relationship, the broom closet and I, so maybe
Baffling that Stanley was
smooth it
still
out.
sitting in the broom closet. He wasn't even doing anything. At least if there was something to interact with, he'd be justified in some way. As it is, he's literally just standing there doing sweet FA.
Doing sweet FA.
Are you really still in the broom closet?
Yes.
Standing around doing nothing?
Yes.
Why?
Because?
Please offer me some explanation here. I'm genuinely confused.
Can't you see how lovely this broom closet is? There's no buckets here, though.
Realize there's no choice or anything in here, right? If I'd said Stanley walked past the broom closet, at least you would have had a reason for exploring it to find out. But it didn't even occur to me because literally this closet is of absolutely no significance to the story whatsoever. I never would have thought to mention it. Maybe to you this is somehow its own branching path. Maybe when you go talk about this with your friends, you'll say, "Oh, did you get the broom closet ending? The broom closet ending was my favourite." I hope your friends find this concerning. Stanley was fat and ugly and really, really stupid. He probably only got the job because of a family connection. That's how stupid he is. That or with drug money. Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers. Well, I've come to a very definite conclusion about what's going on right now. You're dead. You got to this broom closet, explored it a bit, and were just about to leave because there's nothing here, when a physical malady of some sort shut down your central nervous system and you collapsed on the keyboard.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what happened.
Like this, the responsible thing is to alert someone nearby so as to ensure that your body is taken care of before it begins to decompose. Hello? Anyone who happens to be nearby? The person at this computer is dead.
I'm dead.
They have fallen prey to any number of
I'm
your
dead.
countless human physiological vulnerabilities. It's indicative of the long-term sustainability of your species. Please remove their corpse from the area and instruct another human to take their place, making sure they understand basic first-person video game mechanics.
Very important.
And filling them in on the history of narrative tropes in video gaming, so that the irony and insightful commentary of this game is not lost on them. All right, when you've done that, just step out into the hallway.
All right.
Ah, second player. It's good to have you on board. I guarantee you can't do any worse than the person who came before you.
Oh no, because I see a very awesome broom closet here.
You too? Unbelievable. I'm at the mercy of an entire species of invalids.
Invalids.
There's a monkey nearby you can hand the controls to. A fish? Fungus?
Fungus?
You can hammer out the details. I'm not particularly picky. I'll just be waiting for when you're ready to pick up the story again.
Alright. What are we doing? What are we doing? Insanity?
Into a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
But this time without the bucket?
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all.
Of course
He
not.
thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. one he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley.
Describing itself, being described, being described, being described.
Thinking about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just...
You'll prove
he would
it.
prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of the world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay. Stanley began screaming.
Please, someone, make me up!
I have a boss, I have an office, I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real, I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
I do like the freaky.
Story of a woman named Mariella.
I do love the freaky parts of this game.
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy, this much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
No, she didn't backflip all the way to work. Not as cool as the bucket one. Alright, that'll be it for this episode of the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. Yeah, I don't know how many other endings there are, because of course we can do every ending normally and then every ending with the bucket. But after that, I don't know, like, can we go back to that exposition room or that expo room or whatever, or... Curious. Pretty curious to see what other things are in store for us. Anyway, hope you always enjoyed the video. Click the like button, leave the video, subscribe to join the Roman army, and I'll see you in the next one. See you later, Romans. Valete.